they've they've got an agenda. But your goal is actually to get them off of their thing and onto your thing. As the person who originally trained me was fond of telling me. When you walk into any situation, your goal is to get them off of their thing, get them out of their agenda, and get them onto your thing. And that can be a nice cold open pull quote thing.
So when you started the video, like when you started recording, you wanted to say your thing, but you realized you're like, oh crap, Matt didn't do the intro. So where do we go from here? So you just like went for it. Welcome back, guys. Welcome back, guys. You know, that's going to be a great intro because that's a powerful sales tip. To the insurance panel guys, we got Nick Frumpkin, myself, and today we're going to watch a really interesting video from a really great ex-car salesman. I don't know if he's retired or what. Sounds like the guy's retired.
He's retired. Yeah, he's retired. So just to set it up, I went car shopping last year for my wife. I wanted to get my wife a new car, and I hate car shopping, man. I really do. It's the worst. And from like picking out what car I actually want and trying to get decent information and the whole thing, I dislike the whole thing.
Do you? Do you also not like car shopping because you're in sales and you think that you understand how the sales works?
Oof, boy. Yeah. Being in sales and going to negotiate a car sale with somebody else who is also in sales is always a pain in the ass. And like, I want to be able to just walk in and be like, hey, listen, dude, I get it. You're on commission. I work on commission. I want you to make money. You want to make money. Let's like cut through all the bullshit and like get right to the main thing. And car dealers are so trained to not do that. That is like
they're trying to get you off of your agenda and onto their agenda.
Right. Even though it's not necessarily in their best interest.
Right. Yeah.
Which goes against a little bit about what we're going to talk about here. But I spend a lot of time watching YouTube videos. So I started YouTube started showing me videos by this father-son duo that have a channel called Your Auto Advocate. They do not know we're doing this. I'll probably send them an email telling them that we're going to do this because they seem like good guys. Yeah. It's a small channel. They're doing their thing, and we'll plug them. I like them. They got good stuff.
We say small channel like we don't like they have.
Yeah. No, they've got way more channel. Yeah. No,
we're like, a small
compared
channel.
to us. Yeah, compared to us, they're gigantic. But right. Like in the world of like YouTube, they're reasonably small.
Yeah,
they're doing it professionally. They're trying to make a living as YouTubers. We are not. But the guy, it's a father-son team, and the son is kind of like the YouTube tech guy. And the dad was a car salesman for decades, like 25, 30 years. Mm-hmm. And he's just a really good salesman. And like my biggest takeaway from watching these videos was a little bit less like how to get a better car deal, because it's not different information than anybody else is going to give you. But like this guy is a great salesman, and he's really good at doing one really, really important thing, which is quickly establishing and maintaining control of the conversation. And so I watched this one video like months ago, and immediately upon finishing watching it, like sent it to Matt and was like, Matt, you have to watch this. This is awesome.
Yep.
Because the dad sits down to do a role play with his son to like show how to negotiate a car deal. And his son was the dad was doing the car salesman because he was the car salesman, and the son was coming in as the prospective buyer. And even trying to be super nice and gentle because it's his kid and it's a role play trying to show you what you're supposed to do.
Just destroys his kid.
Just destroys his kid on this negotiation, which is a little bit hilarious. But also it's just like the instinct of
a true
good sales habits. Yeah. The good habits. They're just like, it's instinctual. And it's some of the things that get talked about not as often as they should. I get frustrated a lot when we see this stuff coming up in the groups and about people like asking for rebuttals. And like I've got I've got rebuttals. Like when I was first starting out, I was trained. I was given flashcards with rebuttals, and like they're color coded flashcards for like.
Why do you still have that though?
Oh, because they're awesome. I love them. You're like, if you go door knock somebody and they answer the door and they're like, oh, I'm too busy. I don't have time for this. I have a stock response here, which is, oh, it'll only take a few minutes. I'll show you in a hurry. If you like it, great. If not, that's cool.
Yep.
You know, Actually, sorry, I apologize. If you like it, all right. If not, all right. And then you walk into their house. You know, or like if somebody's like, hey, I really can't afford this. Let's forget cost for a minute. If something unexpected happens, this is certainly the type of protection you'd want for you and your family. Isn't that right? I thought so. Then how much is too much? Well, with that in mind, how much of this program can you afford? Like, great. Yeah, good. It's nice to have stock lines. The amount of times that a stock line is going to be really useful for you like that are minimal. One, they sound canned.
Yes, but like, so that, you know, the too busy, you know, when you said it, my rebuttal was going to be like, oh, great, it's not going to take long at all anyway, so we'll just go ahead and get this done, right? It's the same type of response.
It's the same thing.
But the one is just, you know, you don't want to sound like a robot when you're doing it, right? But those are to help you learn what type of way you're supposed to drive that conversation.
Right. You know, and as part of the ongoing training that you get like told, you know, there's a formula to how this works psychologically. And there is some psychology to sales. There's a lot of psychology to sales, stuff that definitely works. Things like if you go back and watch our previous video with Damon, you'll notice when Damon is talking and doing some of his bits of his script, you'll notice that a lot of times he's going like this the whole time he's doing his script.
Yep.
Which is important. Like that kind of stuff is important, right? Because it gets people in a positive type of mood. And the more you nod your head and the more you say yes, and the more you get them to say yes and blah, blah, blah. It gets them all positive.
Yep.
But more important than any of that is being a freaking human when you're in a sales meeting, right? And like listening to what the person is saying and being in control of the situation.
Yes.
And I think that's really more the point that we're going to go with here is, you know, you want to be in control, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think, let's like, pause the recording here. Let's go watch the time. Let's go put this clip on video. We'll unpause the recording and then come back. Is that how we're going to do this? Let's try that.
Yeah. I think that's how we're going to do this. We'll say, Ryan, edit here.
All right, so I just came into the dealership. So you are my salesperson.
Yes. Hi, I'm Ray, and you are?
Zach.
Zach, nice to meet you. How can I help you today?
So I know exactly what I want.
What is that, Zach?
I want a Chevrolet Spark.
And why is that?
I don't know. That's a good question.
How did you come to settle on that?
I had a very rough upbringing.
Okay.
And I think it relates to some of the challenges that I faced as a youth.
Okay.
However, I'm determined to get my Chevrolet Spark, okay? What's the out-the-door price? What is the best number you can possibly give me on that beautiful Spark?
The Chevrolet Spark?
The Chevrolet Spark.
The 2018?
Yeah, the one that...
With 12,382 miles?
Exactly. I saw online you've got it listed for $9,900, and I'm ready to sign a check for that right now.
Really?
$9,900. Can you get me out the door?
Let me see if I understand this correctly.
6 feet, please, sir.
You'd be paying cash?
Shit.
So like, kid comes in, hey, this is what I want. The kid attempts to establish control, and Ray immediately picks up on the one thing that he said, which is favorable to him, and says, so let me just establish right off the bat, you're going to be paying cash, right? And listen, I know this is a different type of sales, right? But it's still sales. You know, it's about getting them off of the thing that they're trying to talk about and getting them to talk about the things that you want to talk about. In Ray's case, his goal is to get him to talk about budget and commit to a price and a budget right off the bat.
Yep. So what he also did, and I don't know if you saw it, but like right before when he was like, let me just understand, He like touched him a little bit. It's like a little bit of a haptic. So it's like, slow your roll, kid, right? You're talking, the kid was talking too long. He had this canned thing, right? And this is what happens with seniors. They have these things because they've had other salespeople come out and they're saying what has worked on other agents, right? They're saying what they know will put them off their track. And he's saying, okay, let me just understand what you just told me. Let me unpack everything that you just told me. You told me this, you told me this, told me this. So I'm coming to this assessment. And he puts these parameters on what the guy just told him. Even though he thought he put in good parameters, he actually put in like the worst parameters. And clients will do that too.
All the time. Like you'll sit down with somebody and you'll sit down with them and the first thing out of their mouth is, I'm so unhealthy, I can't qualify for anything. You know? Okay, great. Well, let's talk about that a little bit. How are you so unhealthy? Oh, I've got fibromyalgia and cataracts and my knees both need to be replaced. And
I had a heart attack 6 years ago.
I had a heart attack 6 years ago when I was 22. I had skin cancer. Okay, great. Well, I think the good news there is, you know, we definitely have companies that can insure you. Congratulations. I'm so glad you're sitting down and talking to me. You know, you're in much better health than I think you realized. But it's the thing that worked on the last agent, right?
Right.
You know, that buying life insurance is stressful. Nobody wants to buy life insurance. Nobody wants to talk about life insurance.
No.
Right? Nobody wants to talk about planning their funeral. It's a stressful activity. Even if they've set an appointment with you, but especially if they didn't set an appointment with you. But even if they've set an appointment with you, like...
Yeah, I think a lot of agents think that when they buy a lead, that even if Miss Jones walked her mailbox, filled it out, that they're just waiting to talk about their own funeral and their life insurance. Yeah. They're not.
Right.
They're not.
No.
They're not excited about it. They're never going to be excited about it. But what you get to do is you establish control of like, hey, I know this is uncomfortable for you, and that's okay. This is what I do every day. I take care of this. I take care of this every day. I'm going to make this painless. I'm going to call it a fire and forget missile. We're going to do this one time only, and you never have to worry about this again. Does that sound fair? And when you do that, you're setting it up like, look, I understand, but this is what we're going to do. I'm going to help you out with this, and you never have to do it again. You've established that control again.
Another thing, and you talking just now kind of reminded me of this, is controlling your energy as the salesperson, right?
Yes.
You know, you look back at that clip that we just watched, and the son, Zach, he's all over the place with his energy. His energy is all kind of up and wild, and it's a role play, but that's pretty typical for like any of our clientele, for any person who's on the sales end of the sale, right?
Yep.
And Ray is like calm, and he's even keeled. He talks in a really steady tone of voice. It's not a monotone. You know, he's got a lot of inflection, but it's very steady and even. And he settles things, Zach is all over the place and up and big. And then, and Ray's just like, okay, so let's just establish a couple of ground rules here. Let's make sure we're on the same page, and you're going to be paying cash, right? Great. That's this check mark that I needed to get to, because his marker is going to, how are you going to pay for the car? It's going to be different for us. Our marker might be, oh, you have life insurance already. Great. That's what I needed to know. Which one of our companies do you have? Or you don't have any life insurance, but you're worried about leaving a burden on your family. Great. That's what I needed to know. Whatever it is, whatever your marker is. But you're getting to that first flagpole.
And you can do that in the same amount of time that he did.
It was a minute.
A minute. You don't have to talk about people's grandkids on the wall, any of that stuff.
No.
You can get in, find out what you need to know. If that client, we did a video with JD. It's not up yet, but very quickly, JD.
It will be by the time this one's in.
Yeah. JD will assess and know if that client is a buyer or just a tire kicker.
Yeah.
Within a minute, right? You can do that.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. So, all right.
So
let's to unpack in the little bit of like little clips. I like watching other people do sales stuff because there's always so much to talk about.
There's good, and then there's sometimes bad. So are we recording? We're gonna pause again now.
Is there a reason we're looking at a car that's $9,900?
Well, I watched that very recent Your Auto Advocate episode where they said it decreased in price. So I just want to get a good deal, a fair deal, and I just need to know the out-the-door number.
So just between you and me, how would you know if and when you had a good deal or a fair deal? What information would you need from me to help support that for you?
Just tell me what the out-the-door price is.
Well, the out-the-door price is going to include the selling price and all the state fees and dealership fees. So, you know, if the price is, say, roughly $10,000, you were, what, $9,900? And you can usually roughly guesstimate your fees at around 10%. So, I don't know, you'd be around $11,000. Would that work for you, Zach?
Maybe.
Okay.
Say 350? Oh,
minute 350 to 351, Ryan.
It's a ruddle, but it's also something very common that seniors do. I know how much a funeral costs because Poo-Poo just died and it cost $10,000, right? He was like, I know that you're selling it for this much because I've done my research. They don't really know, right? So he's like, well, how did you come to, he's basically like, how did you come to that number so I can, so you're going to tell them everything that you know. The client's going to tell you everything that they know. And then you're like, okay, you've done some research, but you also didn't think about these things.
Right.
Right. Which again, is establishing control and making that person understand that you definitely know more than them on this situation.
Right. You're the expert. They're not the expert. And they're going to come in thinking that they're the expert. They're going to, or at least that you're not the expert. Right.
Yes.
And this is one of the downsides of how many people there are out there selling final expense right now. It's just unfortunate. There's a lot of people out there. Your competition is probably fairly poorly trained, and treats everything very transactionally, probably, and has not been in the business very long. Also, probably. Maybe you haven't been in the business very long, but you can still be better than this. They're going to assume, unless you give them reason not to, that you don't really know what you're doing, that you're just somebody coming out there looking to shove a policy down their throat. And everything you need to do needs to be coming from the position of indicating to them without telling them, because it doesn't matter if you tell them. You can't say, hey, listen, I've been doing this for 25 years and that's meaningless. But everything you need to do needs to show them that you are in fact an expert at this. And that you know what you're talking about. And that realistically, probably they don't, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, so what I do is, and he did it too. He's like, okay, great. Like you thought about this, but however, I don't like to use the word but in the house, but I'm like, however, here's some other things. That's great. You've definitely got a life insurance policy. You've got a life insurance policy, which is awesome. So you've thought about this. However, there's inflation. If someone were to pass away, who's going to take over the bills? The house is still going to come due. So you have a $10,000 policy, and it should take care of the burial. However, there's other things that you need to worry about. That's why we're going to talk about this today.
Or maybe they say, hey, my kids are going to take care of all that for me. My son's got money set aside, or even better, my kids are rich. They make so much money. Right?
My favorite is my kids know exactly what to do when I die.
Oh yeah, sure.
And my favorite line, my favorite rebuttal, and I'm telling you this works. Miss Jones, everybody's a rocket scientist until it's time to go to the moon. Okay? Yeah. What does that mean? Let me unpack that for you. Your kids know exactly what you want to do while you're here and you're alive. They're going to tell you they have it handled. But when you die, and they've got 19 people calling them, they're getting Facebook posts, and how in the world are you going to do this? And you're calling life insurance. They're calling life insurance companies, and the funeral home is telling them it's going to be this much money, and they don't know what to do with all that information. They'll have no idea what to do, and that's where they're going to get sold.
Yeah,
they're going to get sold at the funeral home, because they're going to hand your policy that you have already to the funeral home, and they're going to know exactly how much to spend. I'm going to make sure that that doesn't happen.
There you go. The other dog's coming in for a cameo now. Hi, dogs.
Mine's sleeping. You have 2 dogs?
I do, yeah.
Oh, it's a big dog.
Yeah, she is. She's a good dog, but she's giant and a little bit of a bull in a china shop. Okay, go away. Bye. Or at least sit.
Anything else on that? Sorry, cut you off.
No, I think that was great. It's about it's about listening. Like, your prospects are going to tell you how to close them, right? All the time, every single one of them.
Yep.
They're all going to tell you what they need to know in order to be closed. And especially for what we do, the second anybody commits to a number, it's over. If they say, listen, I can afford $30 a month, and that's it. Doesn't matter. 30 is low. I don't care. They committed. That's done. It's finished. It's just a matter of getting them to that place, getting them to where they will talk to you enough. And the way you do that is by asking them questions, and asking good questions. I think the questions that were asked in this last clip were good questions. It's just, again, you have to know where you're going with your presentation, right? You have to be having a clear next step that you're trying to achieve. And you have to do everything you can to point the conversation in the direction of that next step. Get them off of their thing, get them onto your thing, move in the direction that you need to go. So
yeah, cool. Let's see, 7:12. So we should stop recording. 7:12. Where's it at?
Now, the salesperson or the sales manager wants his salesperson to have control. He always wants the salesperson to be leading the customer.
Yeah.
In a lot of cases, if done properly, the customer can lead the salesperson as to how it's going to go. And that happens at hello. Okay, that happens right in the beginning. Zach, it's a pleasure meeting you. Let me tell you what I'm here to try to accomplish today, and I don't have a whole lot of time, so let me set the ground rules as to how we're going to do this today. That immediately puts the salesperson on the defensive, okay? And when they're on the defensive, they're not thinking about how can I get control back. They're thinking about, oh shit, this guy's pretty good at what he does.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with like the controlled defensive thing. I think that's a bit of an old school, but also all the dealerships are old school. So that's my own like personal thing. Like I've grown up in an environment where it's I don't know. Yeah, I get it. I totally get it. That's the dealership experience. So that makes sense.
Yeah. So that's how I would have approached it. I would have just set the parameters from the beginning if I was the customer.
Okay.
So my favorite part of that clip is where this kid who grew up in sales, like not doing sales, but grew up around salespeople, gets told by his dad, the salesperson, how sales works. And his response, which is the freaking response of every non-salesperson, his response is, yeah, I don't know that that's really what's going on. That's my favorite part of that whole clip.
Yeah. It's like
it's laid out.
And his dad was like, I mean, that kind of,
yeah.
He's like, I don't know.
It's not just old school. This is just how persuasion works, right? We are in the business of persuasion. That's what sales is.
Persuasion and manipulation. And positive. There's a thing between most people think manipulation is bad, but positive manipulation is good.
Yes. Yeah.
You can manipulate somebody for the better. right? And persuasion, you're persuading somebody to do something that's good for them. You know, if you don't, if you sit down with a client and they've only got a $5,000 policy because the agent was like, hey, just get the one little $15 thing, and it's really not enough to do anything, but this funeral concierge service is going to take care of everything. That agent didn't do a good job, right? They were sold something, a bag of a snake oil. They're snake oil salesmen. And your job is to persuade that person and get that person to understand that that's not enough to take care of everything.
Yeah. Like, listen, I saw this week, I saw a lady who had a $60,000 term policy that she did not realize was term life. It was not sold to her as term life, or maybe it was. She just didn't remember.
It was,
yeah, whatever. But she didn't think it was term life. We had to call the insurance company and convince her that it was term life. And I then had to come back and say, hey, listen, you know, you were paying $30 a month for $60,000 of term life insurance. You're
going to pay $120.
You can't get $60,000 of life insurance as a smoker with COPD at the age of 69 for $30 a month. It doesn't exist. So something's got to give. You know, you either have to be okay with less insurance or you have to be okay with spending more. But the only option that's not okay is doing nothing, because then in 2 years, you're screwed. Then you're a 72-year-old woman without any insurance.
And if I had to guess, you made sure that lady kept that policy, right?
Yeah.
Keep it for the next 2 years. It's only $30, right? And if something
what
happens
if
to
you
you
die in the next 2 years?
Exactly.
But you got to have something to take over.
Yeah, but some agents, Nick, would have said, oh, I'm going to get that $30 and cancel that thing. They shouldn't do that.
Probably not. Probably not. Like, but
it's got COPD, but I mean, that's,
I
don't know.
Like,
that's,
you can get, but doing nothing is not a choice. You know, that was not one of the choices that was on the table here. Right. You know, get something permanent in place, because guess what? If the $30,000 that you're saying you can afford isn't enough money to leave your kids, the $0 that they're going to get in 2 years is definitely not enough money to leave your kids. It's not going away just because you don't do anything about it.
Exactly.
Right? That problem doesn't cease to be when I'm no longer sitting at the table. But if I get up and I walk away from that table without having fixed that problem, in their mind, the problem ceases to be. The only reason they're thinking about that problem is because I'm sitting at the table.
They just don't want to think about it at the time. She wasn't thinking about, she thought she had a whole life.
Yeah.
She thought she did. How often do you call the insurance carrier?
Every time.
Thank you.
Every time they've got life insurance.
Yes, thank you.
Every time.
My goal, almost in every house, is I call the insurance carrier, and I get that carrier to tell the client that they've trusted for 2 years, 5 years, 15 years, 28 years in this lady's life. She has trusted them with a $30 payment every month, and she hasn't missed, right? I can't go into that house and say, you've got a term policy and it's going to end soon and you're screwed, right? I want the insurance carrier to tell her that.
Absolutely.
Because if it comes from me, she's known me for 10 minutes. If it comes from the people for 30 years, they go, oh, yeah, she's definitely a term policy. And so what'll happen is her premium will increase to, $228 per month.
Right.
And then it'll go up each year after that. And I make it worse and worse and worse. And then at the end of every conversation, this is what, and it's crazy you could do this. So what you're telling me, insurance company man, whoever the person's name is, that it's in her best interest to get a new policy, ride this one out, or like get a new policy, and this is not the best one for her at this stage of her life, correct? And they have to say yes. You're telling me it's a good idea to get another policy, right?
Listen,
and they go, yeah, it's the best idea.
If you have that conversation with the insurance carrier correctly, they will try to sell her the policy and try and convert it, especially if you're dealing with like some of these mail order ones that have both term and whole life.
Yep.
And they sell the term that goes up in 5-year age bands so that they can convert it to whole life later. They will bite on the idea that they can convert it to whole life so fast it'll make your head spin. They will send you to a licensed agent to convert it for them. They'll give you a quote, you undercut the quote, boom, done. It's so easy. It's so easy.
Yeah, I mean, there's one in New York that does life insurance. I don't know what their name is.
Right.
That does that every time they get a chance.
Right.
And they'll actually call. They actually call the clients like within a 5-year period. Like if it's depending on the time, and say, hey, you might want to convert it, right? And they make that sale.
Heck, if you're selling term insurance and you're not calling your clients, every like 3 to 5 years after they've purchased the term policy to ask if they want to convert some or all of that policy over, you're missing a trick. If you are licensed with some of these term companies that also sell whole life, there's a couple of them out there that are big final expense carriers that sell a lot of term. Most of them will let you convert those policies from term to whole life and pay you for it.
Yeah.
Like these are things that, this is again.
Now you got me thinking. I want to talk to you something about without the recording. I want to talk to you about something I just had, but not now.
Okay. Okay.
But
mysterious conversations that you guys don't get to see.
Yeah. What do we really talk about? Let in the comments. But yes, every house I'm establishing control. And every house, I have a goal, which is, what are we talking about? What do you know? Which is basically nothing. Again, I'm the expert here. Part of my expertise is calling the carrier and getting them to basically make you want to cancel that policy. And when that's done, I go, don't worry, it's okay. That's why I'm here to fix this.
That's right.
And then the sale is like, oh, duh. At that point, I'm just pulling out an application and I'm doing the sale, right? And then here's another trick. On the most of those applications or most of those policies at the very end is their application for insurance at the time, right? And guess what? Everything that you need to write that application is on there. You got to ask the health questions again, but it's going to have, I'm assuming it's the same bank account, right, Miss Jones? Yep.
It's all right there. And sometimes their health questions were not answered correctly the first time around. If they've got the paperwork, you always want to check to make sure they were written as a smoker if they're supposed to be a smoker, that all their health issues were disclosed. Again, especially with some of these companies that do instant underwriting, that don't like have them do a phone interview or anything, and they do like the computerized instant underwriting. There's 4 or 5 of them that do that. A lot of those companies are going back and using the MIB Plan F and like double and triple checking on these people's lives.
It happened to somebody just yesterday.
It's happening a lot. With these instant underwriting carriers, it's happening a lot more than it used to. It used to be one carrier was really notorious for it, and I'm starting to see it pop up a lot with the carriers that lean heavily on instant underwriting. You're doing everybody a favor if you make sure that was done correctly, especially if it's a contestable policy. If it was not done correctly, there's a really good chance that it's going to get caught in that 2-year contestability window, and that policy is going to end up getting rescinded. Regardless of whether or not the client dies.
Yeah.
Like the carriers aren't stupid either, right? Like they know what's going on. So, but going back to the clip a little bit, like, Ray there lays it out, it's about establishing control. And somebody's always going to have control of the conversation. If you're good at your job, it's you.
Yes.
And everything that you should be doing should be going to establish that.
And if you're really good at your job, like he is, you'll make the other person believe that they're still in control.
Yeah.
And you're leading them. You're like, oh yeah, good. And you're just, tugging the carrot, so to speak. So he's incredible. $851.
Okay, great.
I know you have very few in stock.
Yes, that's true.
But I am determined to get it, and I want it at your best price.
Okay, so I need to ask you a few questions if you don't mind. Why did you settle on a lease?
Because my monthly payment would be lower.
Okay, so you have some idea as to where you want your monthly payment to be?
No more than $500 a month.
Okay, so if the monthly payment comes in at $490s, you'd be fine.
Sign me up.
Okay, and just out of curiosity, were you going to be putting down the first payment plus a capitalized cost reduction, or just the first payment?
I don't know what that means, so I'm going to go with just the first payment.
Okay, so assuming that the first payment was $490, you would put the $490 down and have $35.
Here's the deal, Raymondo. We're going to cut to the chase.
Oh, okay, cool.
Control.
Yeah,
I learned this from my dad.
yeah.
I am getting a lease.
Okay.
It is going to be under $500 a month. It is going to be for the Pearl Grace Metallic Magenta Gray.
Yeah.
I always got the best name.
That's my favorite.
Exactly.
The Pearl Gray Magenta Metallic Gray.
I knew I liked you, Ray Bondo, right from the start.
Yeah.
And it's going to be less than $500 a month. I don't know what we need to do. Oh, and we're also going to do it through my company. The company's going to lease.
So you're going to put it in your company name?
Company
name. Just need to have some parameters of what I'm working with. And 3-year lease?
3-year lease.
So 36 months. And how many miles a year are you intending on driving?
My kids have soccer tournaments throughout all the Midwest.
I didn't ask you about the soccer tournaments. Just how many miles a year you think you're going to need? Because
15.
most leases, just so you know, before we get started, most leases are calculated using 7,500 miles a year. They're low mileage leases. That's what helps to keep the payment down.
That's a good line.
Yeah, isn't it though?
That's a good line.
So with that in mind, you're looking at, you say 15,000 miles a year. So you're talking about double the normal amount of miles that we normally factor a lease payment on. So, would you be willing to go a little more than $500 a month if you had to get the 15,000 miles a year, or could you figure out a way to drive maybe a little less?
If it is the gray metallic magenta gray,
that one, yes, yes.
I'll make a
with the nocturnal black.
Yeah, probably. Exactly.
Yeah.
I'll make an exception.
Okay.
Okay. So, all right. Let's unpack.
Okay.
That's right.
It's a trade-off.
Yeah. None of that was recorded. We were still on pause for that whole thing. So.
Okay, but we're recording now.
Again. We're recording.
That's fine. That's funny. So let's. I really the most important part of what it is. They went through another kind of sales process again, right? Yeah. And the kid was like, I want to do this and I want to do this. He did the exact same mistakes. He tried to set his parameters. He thought he knew. And within 30 seconds, sales guru over here got another budget out of him.
Right. Yeah. Ray's really good at it because he knows that's what his goal is, right?
Right. That's his first, postmark or check mark to get to. Right. And then what he does, and you're going to see it again and again, he's then setting himself up as the expert. So let me set some parameters here. And he stops him. He does the same exact thing over and over. He goes, you stop talking for a second. Let me just unpack what you just told me. And then he sets him in a box again. Mm-hmm. Every single time.
Every single time.
No matter what this kid's trying to do. And even though he's this dad's son and knows this stuff,
right?
He's just so unprepared for a true sales ninja.
Right. And that's the thing that I love the most about this is this kid is coming in knowing what his dad is going to try to do with the intention of, Zach is coming in with the intention of trying to get Ray to not do what he wants to do. And he can't because he doesn't have a plan, right? You can't, he doesn't have an end goal. He doesn't have a process to kind of go from point A to point B to point C to point D to his goal. Where when Ray's the salesman, he starts with the control. At the end of the day, he's got the thing that the person wants to buy. And in some ways, car sales is easier. They've got a commodity. People want to buy a car, right? You walk in, there's a car, you want to buy the car. You like the car, right? Yep. It's harder with insurance. You're selling air. You know, you're selling a concept. You're selling the idea that maybe somebody else isn't going to have to pay for your funeral.
Yeah,
it's not even anything you'll ever personally benefit from.
Yeah, life insurance is I think maybe the only thing that you're going to buy that you, for the most part, will never use. Final expense life insurance is something that you're buying and you're never going to use if bought and sold correctly, right? He does another thing. He said the parameter. He's like, so it's a 3-month or a 3-year lease, right? And he's like nodding his head, and the kid's like, yeah, 3-year lease. It sounds good to me. He's setting him up to just keeps knocking him down, right? He's doing, and the kid's like, oh yeah, I thought of that, right? He's like, I'm in control. Yeah, 36 months. That's what I want. He's like, great. Yeah. And he's just moving him down that path.
7,500 miles. That's how most leases are figured. That's not how most leases are figured. Doesn't matter.
Right.
He's telling him.
Yeah. Just so you know, you told me you drive this much miles, but just so you know that here's all the things that you need to go. So you can either want to pay more or drive less. Which one? Doesn't matter which one he chooses. He's going to sell him the car.
Right. Both choices result in buying the car. Also, both choices result in expanding his budget. You can tell somebody that most people buy final expense insurance that costs $400 a month. Doesn't make it true. But if you come out there and you're like, listen, most people spend about $400 a month on their funeral costs to set up their final expenses. Do you want that nice of a funeral, or do you want to spend a little bit less money? That is not exactly what I say. It's not actually even at all what I say, but it works. I mean, it's the same idea, right?
You do say something pretty much just like that.
Sort
of, I know works.
Sort of, kind of.
Yeah. But it's again, it's like most people are comfortable with this, and yeah, but you walk them down the path. You're going down the path that you're choosing. The guy just absolutely crushes the kid in this video, and it's the more
it's great. It's really great, isn't it?
The more I watch it, and the kid just is trying to, even though his dad did it the first time, he's like, okay, now I got this.
Right.
And 2 minutes later, within a shorter amount of time, he got a budget quicker from him.
Yeah.
And the lease amount, all those things. And if you do that, you can write final expense applications in a house and be done within 30 minutes.
Easy. From walking in the door and then being like, now what was this all about again? I don't even really know why I set this appointment with you. I don't know what this is all about. From that moment until they're agreeing to write a check to bind their coverage, 20 minutes. Easy. 20 minutes.
Yep. My sales process is a little bit longer. I do it like 35 minutes is my average. But that's because I do a little bit of more of a, like, on the phone with the carrier. Yeah. I really go like every single possible. I'm
assuming they don't have insurance. I'm assuming if they don't have insurance. If they've got insurance, stuff takes longer.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, but like when I get on the phone, I try to give the client every option to make sure that policy's good. But also, absolutely, I'm setting it up that every time that I ask, they're going to be like, no, this is not good for you. Sure. Because they're like, oh, they have a loan. I'm like, okay, they have a loan. That's great. That's fantastic. So what that means is this. And they go, no, that doesn't mean that. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, that's okay, because now when they die, they're going to still have the 10,000 that they had, to start. And they go, no, it's going to be minus the loan. What? I'm setting it up for every time that I have asked these questions. It's, hey, this is a good thing. This is positive. And every time the insurance carrier is saying it's not that positive.
Yeah.
And I'm slowly making that client not like that carrier as much.
I do that a little bit differently, but the result is the same. It doesn't really matter. The point is, if you get the insurance carrier on the phone, the client doesn't have to trust you, right?
Exactly.
The client doesn't have to take your word for things. You prove to them the reality of the situation. They don't have to, they trust you about other stuff. You build the trust for other things by being correct about the things that they don't have to trust you on. You're correct about how their insurance works. You're correct about what other things work. And you show them without them having to trust you. And then when you say, hey, I want you to buy rip-off brand life insurance policy, with the worst name in the world, TM, they say, okay, well, if you're telling me that, you know, this is the best life insurance policy for me, even though it's called ripoff brand, then I think that's probably the life insurance that I'm going to buy. Because it doesn't matter what company you sell, right? The names of the companies don't matter. They're buying you.
Yep. They're gonna go. I've sold a lot of policies, and it's usually around the time that they're writing me a check that they go, who do I make this out to again?
Right.
Because I never said the name of the company.
Right.
They know that I'm selling them a whole life policy for X amount of dollars per month, and they're going to get X amount of dollars worth of insurance.
Right.
At the time they're writing me a check, they go, who do I? And I say the name of the company. Like, I used to sell for a company, and so I'd show the value, you know, the value benefits of company. And I got away from it even with the company because I just decided that people were buying me and not the company.
And, you know, sometimes I'll still do the value benefits of the company, you know, but I'm more about, if I feel like they need a little extra push of like, you know,
mine's more of a by the way.
I hold back. Yeah.
Mine's more of like, oh, I forgot to tell you.
Yeah.
In addition, you're also getting this. Like, oh, cool. That's
right.
Awesome. Yeah,
and it's something that I hold back to, like, if they need that extra push to get over the edge. You know,
right.
Oh, this is a fraternal company, and this is why fraternal companies are great. Or this is you know, this is a company that offers living benefits, and this is why living benefits are great. You know, that kind of stuff. But the value that builds is its whole life. It's never going to get more expensive. There is no waiting period. You don't have to have a waiting period. There's no waiting period. And it's going to last you forever. So you can fit it comfortably into your budget. You can never outlive it. God forbid you died tomorrow, your kids get covered tomorrow.
Yep.
You know, that's the value, right? It doesn't matter what company it is. You know, like I said, you know, I probably said it badly because I've had too much coffee today, maybe, but we could be selling a company called Ripoff Brand Life Insurance Company, and they would not care. You know, it doesn't matter if you're selling a name brand or a tiny little fraternal or anything. What matters is that you're authoritative.
Yes.
And that they trust you.
Yeah.
That your brand is honest and trustworthy and knowledgeable, and you're the expert. That's what matters.
And so if any other agent comes by and uses these really bad sales tactics, they're going to go, no, I trust Nick. Nick knows what he's doing.
So Chris Smith and I work in the same territory a little bit, not very much, but a little bit we overlap.
Hey, Chris.
Hey, Chris. And I went into a house the other day of a person who Chris legitimately set up very well. Like, I went into their house and they were like, we've got this policy with this company. And I was like, oh, that's an unusual company. Let me make sure who sold that. Oh yeah, sure. Chris Smith. And I went over through their health and I was like, well, okay, so here's based on what you're telling me you want to do, here's some options. And I'm not going to do this because Chris and I have an agreement that I'm going to have them. I'm going to, you know, if I run into one of Chris's things, I was like, you're telling me you want to make some changes to your policy. This is what I would tell you to call Chris and have him do. And they were like, that sounds like a really good idea. And I said, now, do you want me to call Chris for you and have him call you back? And they're like, no. We'll send Chris a text right now and he'll call us back in a couple of minutes. He always calls us back. You know, if Chris says he's going to do something, he does it.
Yep.
Because
Chris does.
Right. Like, it was such a a sterling advertisement for like what a good job Chris does by his clients. Like, they knew his name. Mm-hmm. They didn't know what company they had, but they knew Chris. They had multiple copies of his business cards once I asked about it. Like, they, you know, and they had complete trust and faith in who he was and what he was doing.
And it wasn't like he set him up incorrectly. They just wanted to change. They wanted to change. They wanted
something. More coverage.
They wanted more coverage.
Their life had changed. They felt like they could afford more coverage. Great.
Good job, Chris. Hopefully you texted him back. I'm sure you did.
I'm positive he did.
Yeah.
We actually talked in the house briefly. Like I called him up to like be like, hey, just so you know, I'm sitting with one of your clients. But yeah, I mean, it was good. Like, you know, it was an excellent like advertisement for how important Chris was to these people, as opposed to how important the life insurance company that they did not know the name of was to these people.
Exactly.
You know, so
man, we gotta have Chris on soon.
We need to have Chris back on again. So
Chris, if you're watching this, comment down below and you're gonna get on. If you didn't watch this, get on. Just kidding.
You're not watching our videos anymore. Screw you, guy.
Yeah. No, we'll bring you on regardless. But yeah, I think I don't know how it's gonna play out. I don't know how the video is gonna play. Hopefully, our Ryan, the editor, can make it all work.
Yeah.
I think he can. We just gotta give direction. But I think it's a good video. I know you've got like a CRM emergency that you got to take care of.
Yeah. No, I think that's done. I think I need to double check, but yeah, I think that's fixed.
Well, but let us know down in the comments what you found valuable in this. Did you learn something?
This is the most training video that I think we've ever done.
Yeah. This is we're teaching some. I wouldn't say basic sales tips, but like fundamental sales things that you need to understand if you're in final expense life insurance. Yeah. And I'll say this, a lot of people recently, I don't know if it happened to you, Nick, a lot of people have been reaching out to me either on Facebook Messenger or an email or something like that. Our email's right here. Putting the insurance panel at gmail.com. No, is that it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. I didn't know if we had changed it to the insurancepanel.com. I don't know.
We have not.
But a lot of people reaching out and saying, hey, I really appreciate you putting out content. I would have found the answer that I was looking for, but you guys expedited it by a ton.
Yeah.
So thanks for that. I think that's kind of the point that we want to, I don't know why we really do this. Maybe it's to help people.
I don't know why we do this.
I
do this because it's fun.
It's fun. We don't get paid. I like talking to Nick. He has really good points. I enjoy having guests on. But really, I want to help people get past, the what the recruiters tell you.
Yeah.
And just you're in sales, get really good at it. Buy leads.
Buy leads, guys.
Didn't say this video. Buy leads.
Buy
and
leads.
Go to work. Right. And if you're going to buy leads, and I've said this in a couple of videos recently, so it's on top of my mind. If you're going to buy a lead or you want a new lead source because you don't like a certain type of lead, whatever lead source you're going to be buying, do it for like 2 months before you make a judgment call on that lead. You cannot buy one batch of Facebook leads for 25 and spend, 300 and some odd bucks, right? And call it a bad lead. If you did it for 8 weeks and you don't like them, that's okay. It doesn't even make it a bad lead. It's just a bad lead for you. Yeah. If you're going to try a new direct mail piece, try it for 8 weeks. It's like a little bit different wording. If you want to try a Walmart gift card, you want to try a tax-free benefit, you want to try a free funeral guide, try each one of those, but for like 2 months at a time. Gotta give them time.
Go learn about like sample sizes. Study, like I learned about statistics and sample sizes because I'm a baseball fan, and I hate math. And I was a theater major, man. Like I avoided math classes like the plague. I only had to take one math class in college. There's a lot of people watching this that never even went to college because that's why they're in sales, right? And like I'm not a math guy, but I'm a really big baseball fan, and so baseball is very stats heavy. Learn about sample sizes, guys. Like sample sizes and how things settle out over a period of time. It's important stuff,
Yeah. My least favorite thing is like when I'm trying something new and I'll go tell somebody about it and they're like, all right, I'm doing this from now on. I'm like, no, we gotta test this thing first. Like I did it one time and here's the one result. But
it could be an outlier.
The one result, yeah, it's the outlier. You don't know that.
You
So
don't know.
let's test it before we go tell everybody.
Right.
You know?
Gotta give things time.
So anyway, guys, I hope you all enjoyed the video. Tell us what you thought down below. If you haven't, subscribe. We're growing like crazy on the subscriber count.
Yeah.
It's really
Let
awesome.
us know if you like these kind of reaction videos.
Yeah.
Like,
we need your feedback. I like them.
Yeah.
This is good stuff.
I like them. I think it's fun, but whatever. Tell us we want to put out the stuff that you guys want to watch. So if that's nothing but interviews, let us know. We'll do nothing but interviews. I'm good with that. But,
Anyway,
anyway.
talk to you soon.